and welcome to today's video. Today I'd like to share with you the books I read in January, as well as a bit of a birthday book haul. I only finished 2 books in January. I really thought I'd get a better start to the year, but I started like the 4 or 5 that I didn't finish. But let's talk about the ones that I did finish. The first book that I read in January was The Gravity of Us by Phil Stamper. This book has been sitting on my shelf for quite a while. I picked it up because I've been looking for more like easy to read, just romance, simple stories, and I thought a YA romance would fit the bill. This book follows a boy named Kel who is kind of social media famous in New York as a kind of junior journalist when his life is uprooted as his dad is selected to become an astronaut for a trip to Mars. The particular space program is essentially a reality TV show, and Kel is not impressed. After his life has been uprooted, he meets a boy named Leon and they get along, and romance ensues. Unfortunately, I didn't love this book. It was fine. I do understand that I'm not the target audience for this book. It's definitely young adult, and I am becoming aware that I'm kind of aging out of that demographic. My main issue with this book was the main character. He was, frankly, just a bit annoying, but also very self-centered in a way that was not at all, like, dissected in the story. He seemed very heartless, especially while talking about his mother's anxiety and the love interest's depression. I understand that he's a teenager, but he still was just so unaware of everybody else in his life. The dad in this book, Kelvin Sr., was also not great. He completely uprooted his family's lives without asking them. Before he applied for this program, he didn't talk about it, he didn't really ask about it. Yes, it was his passion and his dream, but he did it anyway, and it clearly upset a lot of people. But by the end of the book, everybody forgave him. Everything worked out, so everyone just like got over the trouble it caused. The romance in this book was insta-love, and I'm not a huge fan of that. I can kind of forgive the speed that the romance develops because, 1, they're both teenagers, and 2, they're in this like not great situation and you're probably gonna lean on the people around you in that, but also it just didn't feel quite right to me. I also didn't really like the mistreatment of the main character's best friend, Deb. I feel like she was just there to be used by the main character and it was never questioned. I understand that sometimes friendships get to the point where like you can be a little bit horrible to each other and you forgive each other because you know, like, you're in it to the end together. But it didn't feel like that. It felt very one-sided, and I was just a little bit uneasy about it. I know I just talked about a lot of the negatives. It was still a fun YA romance. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. The other book I read, I don't own a physical copy of. I borrowed the audiobook from my local library, and that is Love and Other Scores by Abra Pressler. I listened to this audiobook in one evening. I had a great time with it. I started it while cooking dinner one night, and then just didn't turn it off until it was finished. This book follows Noah, who is a bartender in Melbourne, and Gabrielle, or Gabby, who is a global tennis superstar. The story's set in Melbourne, which is something I don't think I've ever read before. It's really strange for me to have a story set in my city. But the story takes place during the Australian Open, which is a huge tennis tournament, if you're unaware. Random thing, I used to be really into tennis. Like, as a kid I did tennis, and so this book really brought back a lot of that for me. But the story follows them meeting and Noah not knowing who Gabby is, and their relationship developing. I really loved this book. It's made me really want to read more books by Australian authors and set in Australia. The romance was fun and the characters were compelling, and I really liked the story outside of the romance. Both characters had things going on in their lives and other people that they cared about. I haven't heard anyone talking about this book, but I really do recommend it. I gave Love and Other Scores 4 out of 5 stars. But those are the books that I read in January. However, February 1st was my birthday. That was yesterday as of filming, and I spent the day op shopping with my mum. Here's the thing. If you've seen a few of my previous videos, you may know that this year one of my goals is to only buy 1 book for every 2 physical books that I read. I might have already fallen off the track, but it's still early in the year. I can get back. I promise. It's fine. I found a book that I've been wanting for a very long time and a specific copy that I wanted, and I'm very excited. Let me grab the stack of books that I bought and we can talk about them. So it's technically 6 books. I don't really count one of them, but I'm so excited. I'm going to start with the one I'm most excited about because like I genuinely like want to scream a little bit, but that is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I have been wanting to read this book for so long, and it's the Orange Penguin Classics version. I love these books. You can't see it, it's just off camera, but there was a while where I started collecting these at op shops. This is definitely the biggest one by far that I have, but I just got so excited seeing this on a shelf, a book that I've wanted to read for so long, and an Orange Penguin classic, and all for $3. I got very excited and I really want to read this as soon as I can. The next book is a bit of a joke. There was a pile of books on a table and I just saw it like peeking out and I was like, there is no way that is what I think it is, it can't be, but it was. And that is a novelization of the TV show Broadchurch. If you know me, you may know of my love for David Tennant and frankly Olivia Colman. They are such an iconic duo, but I loved the show Broadchurch and had no idea there was a novelization and had no idea I would find it randomly in an op shop on a Thursday, but I did. I did get this as a joke, but at the same time, like, I do want to read it. I feel like it would be an easy read because I already know the story, but yeah, I felt like I had to get it because I need a little David Tennant watching me from my shelves. The next book I got was actually the first one I got of the day, and that is Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. This is a copy from the 60s. It is worn out, it is old. I have a feeling that it might have been like a library copy or something because it does have a hole poked out of the front, and I feel like maybe I've heard that that's a thing libraries do. I don't know, but it's old, it's rough. The pages themselves are a little like sandpapery. I actually really like that. I like worn books, but the edges are like yellow. I don't know if someone like highlighted them at one page or if that's just how the paper is aging. I am intrigued to read this. I don't know if I will get to it. Probably not anytime soon. There is a cat hair poking out of it. That is not my cat's hair. Interesting. I just feel like this is a nice addition to the collection, especially because I do want to read classics. I feel like children's classics are maybe a little more accessible to me. I spent a long time wandering the aisles looking for poetry and I couldn't find any, and for some reason it made sense in my head to get this next book in place of poems. I don't know my own logic, but that is Feminist Fairy Tales by Barbara G. Walker. I basically just liked the cover. I'm quite intrigued to find out what in the 90s was deemed feminist compared to now. I'm sure it's going to be quite outdated and fairly exclusionary, but I'm intrigued. I think it's probably just going to be like white middle upper class feminism. This is the last like proper book that I have to show you. This is one that, I've nearly bought from bookstores before, but talked myself out of for a very specific reason that we will get into. But I picked up Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Here's the thing, right? These are the authors of the Illuminae files. Those books were quite popular a few years ago. I've heard great things. I own the 3 Illuminae files. They're sitting on my bottom shelf. I have never read them. I bought the whole trilogy and just didn't touch it. And so whenever I saw this in store, I said, no, read Illuminae, then you can get this one. But most of my logic goes out of the window when I'm at op shops. I just see like a $2 price tag and a book that I think I might be interested in, and then something happens and I'm at the register and then I'm in the car and it's not my fault, but it is my fault actually. Like I could have more restraint. I just don't. I have no idea what this book is about, but I do want to read more Australian authors and I mean, come on, I'm really gonna try. I think I'm going to set myself the goal of reading Illuminae within the next few months. I have to do it. They're taking up so much physical space on my TBR shelf that they need to be read, and then I can read this. The last book I got is not a novel, but I was very drawn to it. It is Step by Step to Better Knitting and Crochet. This is like a how-to guide from the 80s. You can just tell by looking at it, by holding it, like you know exactly when this is from. I love it. I flipped through it while I was eating lunch yesterday and it is so in-depth and so detailed, and there are so many projects and I'm so intrigued. I learnt to knit when I was a kid, but by knit I do mean just the basic knit stitch, like that's all I could do. And last year I picked knitting back up and I learnt how to do a purl stitch, but now I can do 2 stitches and that's it. I don't know how to like drop stitches or add or make anything other than a rectangle, but I do think that I could potentially learn with this book. I also picked it up because my mum crochets, and so if I don't use it, I think she will. She's definitely better than me at written instructions. I'm more of a visual learner. Someone is going to get use out of this book in my house. So there we go. That was my January TBR and a bit of a birthday book haul. I am really happy with the books that I picked up and the books that I read in January. I was going to talk about all the ones that I started and didn't finish, but I'm hoping to finish them in February so I can talk about them in that wrap up. But that's all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, you can give it a thumbs up. Let me know what your favorite read of January was. You can subscribe, I upload every week, and I will see you next time. Bye.